Whether you've played the First Descendants through the open or closed betas, or you're new to the title, in this video we're going to be going over all the starting characters so you can be sure on which character is suited best for you. Quickly, not like most titles in this genre, the Descendants not only allows you to switch classes pretty much on the fly, but encourages it. Depending on the party you're paired with, or the dungeon and boss you're taking on, each class will excel in specific situations. Now, this doesn't mean they all are not viable throughout the title and throughout the game. They all are workable in all situations. It's just some of them will give you an upper hand when playing specific world events and going against different bosses and dungeons. But enough of this, let's get into our first character. Now, at the beginning of the game, you'll have access to 3 characters. More will be unlocked as you play through the game, but these are Lepic, Ajax, and my personal favorite, Viessa. Let's start with Lepic, the final Grenader. Lepic is a DPS role character. With his use of his prosthetic arm, he can clear out the battlefield by lobbing grenades towards the enemy. Lepic's elemental attribute is fire, with a passive skill called Close Call that's a last-ditch escape from inevitable annihilation. This skill gives you the chance to survive a final blow during combat. Now, the cooldown for this ability is quite long, and with it only activating on chance, it makes this skill not that viable, but it still is pretty decent. His 4 other active skills are Grenade, where you lob a grenade from his arm towards the enemy. This is just like a standard grenade. It does a certain amount of DPS depending on your character's build. Then there's Traction Grenade. This grenade pulls enemies towards you, grouping them together, giving you the ability to attack all of them in a cluster. Next is Overkill, which launches a shell into the ground and creates a pool of fire that lasts a duration. Now, his last but certainly not least skill is Overclock. This skill is perfectly used when paired with Grenade and Overkill, as it buffs the damage and applies extra burn to these skills. You know, Lepic being a fire elemental character, being able to boost his burn ability is going to boost the general DPS and AoE damage you can do overall. And not only this, it boosts his overall damage across the board on all of his stats and all of the weapons and skills you're using. So Lepic can basically be seen as the soldier character, just, you know, a standard DPS build character that is just generally good all around and is great for beginners. Next off is Ajax. This Descendant is a void tank class that basically, in my opinion, is like a Titan from Destiny. Now, he doesn't have an elemental attribute, but instead he can accumulate void, and he is the only character who can do this. Now, through receiving damage from enemies, you will build a void meter. Once this void meter is full, it can be consumed to buff his overall skills, health, and defense. Now, as mentioned before, every skill can be enhanced if void is consumed. The first of 4 skills is Orbital Barrier. This does what it sounds like it does. It creates a shield wall in front of Ajax. Now, the durability of this wall is in proportion to your health and defense pool. Now, if this is enhanced by void, it reflects damage back to the enemies proportional to your defense level. Next is Void Walk. This is a leap ability, sending you in the air and landing on the ground nearby, damaging and stunning enemies. If this skill is enhanced by void, it increases max shield for a certain duration and boosts your overall defense. Next off, we have Expulsion. This is a skill that strikes nearby enemies, knocking them back. This is just basically a crowd control ability. Again, if this one is enhanced, the knockback range is a lot further and your max shield is increased overall as well. And the last but not least active skill you have is Hypercube. This creates a dome-shaped shield around the area, being able to protect not only you but your party members. This is going to be great for boss fights, and this shield is able to be shot through from the inside, so you can dish DPS from the inside of the cube. Now, the durability of this increases to the proportion of Ajax health and defense. If this skill is enhanced by Void, it reflects damage proportional to the defense level you have, hitting enemies that are attacking the barrier. Ajax is your brute liberated Guardian class. He is the tank of all tanks when it comes to the Descendants, and all of his skills are geared towards boosting your shield and defense rating. And when having a higher defense rating, you can also dish out more damage. So this is going to be the bread and butter when it comes to whether taking out groups of mobs, having crowd control, and dishing out massive amounts of damage when it comes to bosses. Now, the last optional starter character is Viessa. By far, she is my favorite class, in beta since 2022. I loved using Viessa as my starter class. I just like her skill set, and as a solo player, I think she's fantastic. Her role is a debuffer. Her elemental ability is Chill or Frost, basically an ice class, giving you the ability to freeze and stun enemies and debuffing them, giving them lower health pools and easier to attack. Her passive skill is Ice Sphere. This creates an ice sphere floating around her body, which inflicts ice damage and effect proportional to the effect stage that you have. The ice sphere will automatically fly towards nearby enemies and deal damage to the target and its surroundings. So this is great when you're trying to get out of sticky situations or you're trying to push a group back. Her first active skill is Frost Shard. This fires an explosive ice beam, inflicting damage on direct hit as well as area damage. This is pretty similar to Lepic's grenade ability. Next off, we have Frost Road. This skill is mainly a mobility skill. It does dish out some damage and crowd control overall when you pass through enemies, but it is mainly used for traversal and getting out of sticky situations. This increases running speed and shield and creates an ice sheet on the ground where Viessa stands. When enemies come into contact with it, these ice sheets, they inflict Ice Shackle. Now, Ice Shackle is the debuff that Viessa has, and this can be increased by multiple stages depending on your level, your character level, as well as different gear equipped. Next off, we have Cold Snap. This releases an arc of cold air in front of you, inflicting damage and Ice Shackle. Again, most of these skills are quick attacks or crowd control attacks that just inflict constant stacks of debuffs, which then gives you the ability to easily take out targets. Last but not least, her main active skill is Blizzard. This creates a snowstorm that explodes over time, inflicting damage and yet again inflicting Ice Shackle on enemies caught within. This increases by 3 stages when hit and increases further when enemies are hit by the explosion that this thing creates. So basically think of an ice tornado that is constantly out and it's constantly exploding and debuffing enemies in a surrounding area. This skill in particular is fantastic when I'm soloing bosses, and I do really enjoy it. This is just a quick general overview of the first 3 starting classes in the First Descendant. There are so many other classes, and keep in mind, guys, this game is extremely interesting because, like I said at the beginning of the video, they give you the option and they very much encourage you switching classes multiple times. Now, this is going to be interesting when it comes to gear. I'm not going to get too far into gear because I have a video specifically that goes over all gear in the game and how the gear system works, as well as leveling and creating a stronger character through transmogging and different gear pieces. So please check out that video if you enjoyed this. Let me know what class you are interested in. Let me know what class you ran during the beta and if you're going to be running a different one now the game has fully launched. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and got something out of it, and as always, stay happy, stay hyped, and have a beautiful day.